Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Rita Young, and I want to welcome you to our community conversation on participant direct sustainability. If you are watching us live or if you're watching the replay, I just want to welcome you to our conversation. And as you are, we already have some folks that are watching live on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. And let us know how long you have been self-directing either your services or the services for your son or daughter. So we want to check out the chat here. Donna, thank you so much for giving us our first comment for the evening. And we are so grateful to be here. Looks like we have about 30 folks on. And so let us know, just post a comment. Let us know where you are watching from and how long you've been self-directing services. Okay, oh, hi, Debbie. How are you? Lucy, 6 years. Okay, great, great. And we're going to do some introductions in a second. We're just giving folks an opportunity to jump on for a minute. Okay. Lisa says 15 years. Okay. I think I'm in that category too. Yeah. John says 16 years. Wow. Okay. We have some well seasoned family members here. 5 years, 15. Donna, I owe you a phone call. All right. Okay, great. 5 months. Sharon, welcome to the club. And you may be wondering again, 15 years, Champions Community Foundation. Hi, Rick. How are you? We're going to do some intros in just a moment. Lucy said you had to break an ankle to get the waiver. Wow, that is a story. We want to hear about that someday. Charlotte says 15 years. And we do all have our stories, right? So again, my name is Rita Young. I'm a parent and also a freelance consultant, and I'm very pleased to be a part of this project. And this project, by the way, is sponsored by, let's see if I can get this. There we go. Sponsored by Champions Community Foundation. And we thank you if you are a family that is associated with Champions. Thank you so much, and let us know. We'd love to give you a shout out this evening. So thank you. All right, I have two friends with me tonight. As I said, I'm a parent too. I have two adult sons that we've been self-directing the waiver. It's got to be between 12 and 15 years, long, long, long time. So, Mitzi, tell us a little bit about, and I'm in the North Fulton area. Tell us, Mitzi, where you're from and about how long you've been self-directing.
So I am in South Georgia. I am in Brooklet, which is Bullitt County, and I have been self-directing for 25 years. So it makes me really old. Josh was 28, so we started in another state when he was 3. So we've been
Okay.
in Georgia for since 2005. Took us
Okay.
8 years to get a waiver. So yeah, been doing it for a
Okay.
little while.
Okay. Great. Great. Thank you.
Welcome.
And Nalini. Oh, Nalini, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we've been self-directing for 7 years. But before that, Nandi had a traditional, she was in group homes. And due to, you know, what happened while she was in group homes, and when she realized she couldn't do what she wanted to do, we had to go into PD. And that's the best thing we ever did. And I believe
Okay.
a lot of families will relate to that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Nalini. And so I'm going to just give you a little bit of background. It looks like we have almost about 50 folks here or so. Um, and Tim and Beata, I'm assuming that you are watching together perhaps. And just to also let you know, Mitzi, Nalini, Rick, of course, Thompson, who sponsored the project, Beata Sass. I'm looking for others that may be a part of our work group. I'll give you a little bit of background of the project, and then I have just a few slides. So I promise this is not going to be a webinar with a bunch of slides. We really want to talk with you about some of the activities that we've all been engaged in for the last 15, 16 months. So a relatively new project. So about 16 months ago, I was introduced by a professional contact acquaintance to Rick Thompson, who's the executive director of the Champions Community Foundation and Champions Place. And the reason we were introduced is because we were both asking the same question. And that question was, what happens when a parent is no longer either alive or capable of administering the participant direct model? So we were both asking that same question. And so this person connected us and we started talking. And out of that developed a family driven project. So just know that this project is driven by family members. There are about 12 of us, probably a little bit more, that have been working together, all families from across the state, on this one particular issue. So we're going to give you some of the results in just a little bit. Again, pleased that everyone's with us. We've got about 50 folks here. So that's how the project started. And so we were chartering into the unknown, right? And wandering for a little while. But as I like to say, not all who wander are lost, because we've gotten quite a bit accomplished in the last year and almost a year and a half. So I'm going to show you a few slides just to give a little bit of structure to our conversation today. And folks, feel free to chime in. We've got great representation from all across the state, it looks like, which is great. So just to give you a little bit of information about self-direct, and we found this out 2 months ago. We are about 5,000 families in Georgia. 5,000. I had no idea, right? And we are families that adhere to the guiding principles of self-direct: dignity, respect, freedom, control, choice for our loved ones with developmental disabilities and physical disabilities. And so we believe that, yes, it is a lot of work on the side of the administrator of PD, but that it is a choice that gives our family members the most dignity and respect. There's about 14, and this is just on the Now Comp side. So if you're watching, you either have a Now Comp waiver or an ICWP, which is Independent Care Waiver Program. On the Now and Comp side, there's approximately 14,000 total waivers in Georgia, and the self-direct piece of that pie is 35%. Okay, so we are no longer a small and mighty group. We're gaining in numbers. So as I mentioned, just to give you a little bit of background, we're 12 family members, self-advocates as well, that self-direct services, as well as additional families that are represented from Champions Place. We've been meeting, actually, this is October, it's August 2022 to, we just had our last meeting a couple weeks ago, October 2023. We represent families that have IDD and physical disability waivers, as I mentioned earlier, and we invited partners and allies to participate as well. By those partners and allies, again, it's a family-driven project. We invited, and these individuals also actively participate, the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, Georgia Department of Community Health. We also expanded our contacts and spoke with a group out of Boston called Applied Self-Direction, and they provide technical assistance across the country to states that self-direct. We also met with folks in Maryland, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, California. And so a lot of these states joined us initially for the first year or so. And we also have Georgia Options, Georgia Advocacy Office, and Parent to Parent, Better Living Together, and the PD Advisory Council. So we are, again, a group that represents parents, individual families, and organizations. Hi, Ben. How are you doing? It's been a long time. Hope you're doing well. All right. So we found in our research that really the only state that has done any research on Self-direct sustainability is New York State, and they finished a survey and a report in 2020, and basically, it's a wonderful report, very well thought out. At the conclusion, though, self-direct is excellent for individuals who have a disability as long as the parent is alive and capable of administering the model. And then last March, Rick Thompson and I spoke at a national conference on self direction and talked with people from all across the country. And it seems like no one has really figured this out yet. New York State had it on its top 5 priority list. Their equivalent, our division of DD here in Georgia, they call OPWDD. So they are a little bit ahead in terms of thinking how we might solve this particular issue. But again, no real answers or options. Here's something that we also discovered. Just a couple more slides, by the way. 56% of us. So we did a survey in March of this year. Thank you to Parent for helping us with that survey, getting it out to everyone. We had about 400 families participate in the first survey. What we discovered is that 56% of the PD administrators are over 60. Okay, so we found that was a really interesting data point for us. And then also, we asked families, when you're no longer here, what are your family's wishes for your son or daughter? And by the way, if you filled out that survey, I just want to thank you. It's been extremely helpful to this work. So, as you can see, 72% of people that answered that survey, which is close to 400 people, want the self-direct model to continue in their existing home. 16% want to switch to that group home host home, and then 12% in a providers providing services in that existing home. We know when parents die, a critical role is left vacant. And so, what we have discovered is that there is a role that quite a few states have. We don't have it yet, but it's called a support broker. And a support broker is not a support coordinator. This is an additional role that helps families administer participant direction or the guardian or family representative. We looked at different states and their role descriptions, and we want to take it even a step further than that. So, if you could think about this, and I'm going to show you, it's just a couple slides of the draft job description and role. If you could imagine someone that could help with recruiting, interviewing, onboarding, stuff that we all do, right? Training, scheduling, direct support staff, time approval, holding quarterly review meetings with staff and to talk about changes in scheduling to health and scheduling, account management. So, those of us that, well, we all have a fiscal intermediary, it is helping and supporting around that budget. Job performance management, addressing issues to ensure each caregiver is meeting job expectations, and developing a emergency plan for backup. And also, ideally, they could fill in as temporary direct support professional in the rare event of an infrequent emergency. So, how we did this is we looked at different states, their descriptions, and then as a work group, we took some of what from their descriptions, but then we added our own. Okay. What we'd like to do is advocate in Georgia for a support broker role, a participant direct PD support broker role. You could think of it also as a person. And by the way, this is a process, right? So this is not going to happen overnight, but we are quite a ways along that process, making some good progress here. It would be a person that could queue up those key decisions for a sibling, for a guardian, for a friend, um, to make in the absence of that parent or when that parent passes, etc. So does that make sense, folks? I just want to hear. What do you think? So it would be an extra layer of support and oversight too for the PD model. And it would ensure a smooth transition of PD services before and after the parent's death. Okay, so Crazy Wheels, thank you so much, Ben. It's best if you can do it. Yeah. So, Ben, this might be someone that could potentially help you recruit for staff, right? So you're not doing it by yourself. Yeah. So again, if and it's a lot of responsibility for a legal guardian, a caregiver, a legal guardian or a sibling, right? So we want to queue that up. Thank you, Jane. So we've been working really hard on this. It's not perfect, but it's really good, right? There's nothing is going to be perfect. Okay, so it's again to remove some of the burden of managing the self direct program because those of us that self direct love the self direct model, right? Is it going to work for all of us? We don't know yet, right? I mean, we're putting this out there and it's a step in the right direction. I believe it's a step in the right direction. Christine, it is incredibly scary to think about. I completely agree with you on that. It is. And okay, so Beata, I'm going to answer some questions, and Tim, I want to answer questions in a bit because we're working on the costs, etc. What we want to do is amend the Now Comp and ICWP waivers to include a new service called PD Support Broker. Okay, it would be permanent. Yes. Okay. I hope that answered that. Okay. Whoops. All right. So this PowerPoint that I'm showing you has probably 6 different iterations, depending upon, we've shown it so many different times and have added to it. It's really kind of encapsulates all of the work that we've done in the last year, but I don't want to show you the entire thing. It would take too long. From our loved ones, our self advocates perspective, if parents are suddenly gone, a smooth transition is unlikely. If they have to be moved to a group home or other situation, they'll be uprooted against their choice to an unfamiliar area, pulled away from their community, lose that connection. And unfortunately, along with that would be a high probability of emotional trauma, which is going to require more supports, right? And that's a hard thing to talk about, but I would imagine that would most definitely be the case. With support broker services, while the parents are alive, there's a smooth transition, right? You're planning for that. You have someone to help you plan. There's a high potential for someone to be able to remain in their own homes. Again, is it going to work for every single one of us? We don't know, but this is a step in the right direction. Relationships are intact. They can keep that connection to their community, and it is person centered. Okay. All right. So that's a little bit, from our perspective, rather. Prior to death, we are worried and overwhelmed. There's no clear path for the future. Christine talked about it's scary to think about. Yeah, I agree. It is. After parents' death, siblings are unreasonably burdened. Yeah, the siblings too, and those individuals who are fortunate enough to have siblings that can take over, live in the same state. Um, it's got to be a tremendous learning curve for that individual. And parents feel that they can't die. With the support broker services, we can live our later years with peace of mind. And the sibling and family that step in, they're a part of a team, and the burden is lighter and more manageable. And there's a tangible plan in place for transition. So that's enough of the slides. Would love to talk with Nalini and Mitzi, and then ask folks if you have any questions. And Tim, I will come back to your question as well. Um, this is critically important to me. And by the way, we don't have full-time staff on this particular project. I work a very part-time hours on it, and we've been able to get quite a bit accomplished. And personally, for me, it's important because I have two sons, and I want to try to make a difference not only for my family, but for all of our families, right? And so I see this as progress. Is it going to solve everything? Probably not, but we could take it one step at a time. I think this is the lower hanging fruit is to get this PD support broker role in the waiver, paid for by Medicaid, which, by the way, a lot of states are already doing. So this is nothing brand new. The only thing that's brand new is that we are expanding that role description to take even more of the burden off of either the sibling or the legal guardian, et cetera. And by the way, we also wanted to put in there, and I don't think I put it in the slide or it was missing from it, someone to be able to renew government benefits too, because we know how important that is. Okay, so Mitzi, why is this so important? You've been a part of the work group. Why did you decide to invest your time in this particular project?
So I'm an aging parent, so is my husband, and we have nobody. This is the thing that keeps me awake at night. I mean, it is the fear of Joshua being 28 years old. And if something happens to us, who's going to step in? That fear of what would happen. You do the steps that we all know we're supposed to do, but he wants that waiver. It is his choice. We've had this conversation as he's got older. I want to stay in my home. I want to always be able for you to participate direct. What happens if something happens to you? Or who can help step in? And I'm like, I don't know. There is nobody. That's fearful for him because the first thing he says is, I love being on participant direct because this is my life and this is my choice. And then the next thing I hear Nandy and Joshua both saying that constantly over how many times, and even Rita, all of us going back years, teaching them to advocate for their rights. So as a parent, it makes me, I have no choice. This is what I live for, is to push them to have their choice of their life, his rights, his choice to work, his choice to have wherever he wants to live. So I will do this until we get this. It's their choice. That's why it's their choice, and it's whatever we have to do. I mean, I don't know any other thing to do. It's just what we have to do. There is no other choice. It's that important to me because he tells me it's my choice. You're taking my rights away, and that's it. And a state entity, CMS, they shouldn't have that control over him. So when he tells me that, as a parent, it makes me hurt. So again, when I have no choices and I have no rights I've got to fix it. So that's why I do this. So whatever, like I'm like you, I work full time. Whatever we got to do with what bits and pieces to make this happen, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So I will jump on whatever train there is, and it's going to take us a while, but if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it.
That's
So,
right.
and
That's
this,
right. I mean,
so,
sometimes we think that someone else has the answer, that
no,
but we're actually the hero that we've been waiting for, right? It's got to be us.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
What
right.
about you, Nalini? You're on mute.
Yeah. For us, I echo what Mitzi said just now. And I believe we spent all of our years teaching Nandi to be independent and to speak out and to get what she wants or what she can manage. And she's constantly surprising us when she's given the opportunity. And that opportunity comes because she has the PD waiver. And we have been in the position of having the group home experience before we did PD. And for that period of time, it was what we needed because of family circumstances. But that taught us what we did not want. Of course, if there's no other choice, that's it. But if there is any other choice, especially continuing PD where she is, that would be it. And so that's what drives us. And like Mitzi, we are aging, and Besides that, we are also first generation, which means we don't have many family. We don't have any family in Georgia. And our only other daughter is now in Spain. So we are in the position that what really is going to happen? I mean, we know that God takes care of all these things, but we believe that we have to step in and do what it takes. And when I heard about this program, I mean, we'd been kind of beating the bushes and trying to get family and friends to commit to take over PD direction. And once they got a clue as to what it would take, what it entails, um, it's ongoing, it's difficult, and it's time consuming. And they have to have a personal relationship and a commitment. Many of them wanted to do it, but they just could not. They could not commit. And so we are in the position where no one has committed. And so what do? I mean, we are still looking, but we don't have anybody that can take over and do what we are doing. And if I should drop dead tomorrow, my husband and I, what's going to happen? I know Nandi will speak up, but you know, who's going to speak up for her and take over all the things that we are doing? And that really has been the driving force. In fact, I heard about this initiative or this um, project at a meeting from another parent. And I said, oh my goodness, that's exactly what we need, right? And so I joined the group and I was thrilled. I mean, this group is visionary and they've done their homework. It's not just throwing things out there. They've shown that this if it comes to be, that it'll help not only DBHTD and DCH, but families most of all. And it's going to be economically feasible, really. I mean, when people look at the numbers and they are realistic in looking at what would happen if all these parents suddenly, not immediately, but over time. I mean, if you see the number of 60-plus-year-olds, it's going to happen. I mean, I'm in my 70s and so is my husband. So we don't have much time. And so this is critical for us. And I would do everything in my power to make sure it happens. And I would say, all of you out there, all you parents, lend your voices, because it's in the best interest of all of us to have a support broker. I mean, it's not perfect, like Rita said, but what is perfect? I mean, you have to start somewhere. I mean, we didn't even have PD but some years ago, right? All we had was host homes, group homes, and maybe some CLA services. So we've come a long way with PD. And we've got some services, lost some services, but beyond it all, who's going to manage it? And I find that if I'm able to say to my family and friends, you don't have to do all of it. Could you do just this portion? If you could break it up and say, could you do the financial? Could you do this part? Then I think people would be willing to consider it and step forward and take it up as a charge. But when they see things as they are, the amount of time it takes without a support broker, we lose them. So that's one of the reasons I'm going to stay in there step by step till this becomes a part of Georgia PD waivers.
Thank you so much, Nalini and Mitzi. Thank you. Um, you can tell that we are passionate about this particular issue and that we're going to continue. And we want to invite you to join us as we continue to advocate. And I'm going to get to some comments in just a second. We are in the process of forming. We've basically almost already done it, forming a self-direct or participant direct advocacy group. So if you received an email from me reminding you to attend this meeting, I already have your email. If you heard about this meeting through social media, etc., then please send me I invite you to send me your email address so I can add you to the list of several hundred that we already have. So we want to keep you posted. Maybe it's quarterly, so it's not going to be every week or every month, but there will be a time when we need to lock arms together as families and do some advocacy. So we want to prepare for that, right? We want to prepare for that. Okay. So we're trying to figure out a name. Sometimes that's the hardest thing, but it will be something like PD Families and Allies or Self-Direct Advocacy Group, something like that. So just know that's where we're headed. I'm going to get some comments here. So again, if you think that I don't have your email address, please send it to me. I will add you to our growing group. Back here, let's see, Tim and Beata, I'm going to say, how much do the brokers usually cost? We did some very rough calculations. And what we've asked one of our partners to do, since I am not an actuary, is to really give us some firm numbers that we can then share with everyone. Right now, they're just rough, so I don't want to give you, but it is, in my opinion, it's affordable. Yeah, so that's my opinion. So I don't want to give you the numbers without having it go through an actuary, but just the rough numbers that we have, it most definitely wouldn't break the bank. That's my opinion. Okay. So, um, could this be a family member? I hadn't really thought about that. Would help the family member to administer. I hadn't really thought about it, Vicky. That's an interesting question. Interesting. Let's see if I can hide that. Okay, let's see. Many individuals don't have family. I know. I mean, you've heard from 3 here tonight. And, again, the low hanging fruit is to get this in the waiver here. Then possibly the next iteration is solving the next issue for those of us that don't have family. But this is going to get us in that, at least headed in that right direction, right? Um, Beata, you're saying Tim and I are in the same situation as Mitzi and Nalini. It's scary when we have no backup. So thank you so much. And there's a lot of us in that same boat too. I imagine that's why you're here tonight too. We should send DBHD a bill for, oh my goodness, you know, that would be really interesting because we do the work for free. We do the work for free. And I'm not complaining. But sometimes I hear others complaining, well, you can pay staff this and I can't pay staff this from other providers, which I love the providers. But we do the work for free. Not everybody can do the work for free, right? Okay. So, Ebony, how you can support is send me your email. We'll add you to the list. We're going to be giving updates periodically only when we need to. So, we're not going to be sending you multiple emails and all this stuff. But I will tell you that the surveys have been so helpful. Who would supervise? That's a great question, Donna. Who would supervise the brokers? I don't know if we've figured that out yet. I don't think we have, but that's a great question. And thank you for asking that. Folks, again, this is family driven. We are moms and dads, and we're trying to figure this out, right? So we're going to need everyone's help. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Participants for the work group. I think the work group were full, but that doesn't mean you can't participate because when we need to advocate, we're going to need you, Ebony. We're going to need you. Yeah. And, again, we'll have other opportunities just like this for you to provide feedback because we can't do it by ourselves and we don't want to do it by ourselves. So that's why we wanted to have 2 community conversations. Jane asks, and then I think we'll start to wrap it up. I didn't think we were going to take an hour, and we didn't. So I'm really pleased about that. I can give you some of your time back, and thank you so much for joining. Will there be a need to advocate for a rule change with stable? I don't think so, because we're talking about, Jane, having it come out of uh, having additional funds for this in the waiver to pay for this. Yeah. So I don't think we would need to change anything with the stable accounts. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions that you all might have? I'm looking through your comments, trying to catch all of them. Let's see. Tammy says it would be a tremendous burden lifted from the state. The state cannot handle the impact. Thank you for stating that because in the PowerPoint, we have the state cannot absorb 5,000 individuals, right? So we've got to find some solutions.
I don't think you'll ever have any of us become provider minded.
Yeah. I think
You
we've
won't on this
talked about
screen
that.
anyway. Yeah. I'll be saying on this screen, I promise you, you don't have any of us that will become provider minded. I
We've
can't
talked
say
about
for
that.
anybody else. Yeah, but I don't know. I can't speak for nobody else, but I
We've
don't think
talked
you have
about
that
it.
feeling.
Yeah, Donna,
Yes.
we've
Yes.
said it must be person-centered. Must
Yes.
be
Yes.
person-centered.
It's like take an oath.
Yeah,
Take
the
an oath.
brokers must be
Yeah.
person-centered.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's why
So
it's
that
important to have those out there before we pass away, so that if there are any
Yes.
tweaks or adjustments to
Yes.
be made, we are there
Yes.
to speak up and get it done when we're
Exactly.
still able to do it. And that's the whole idea.
and Donna, we've talked to a group actually in Pennsylvania that are support brokers, not to the extent that we want to expand that role, but they are very person-centered. I mean, all of their I mean, it was really amazing. It's called oh gosh, vision. I can't remember into action or something like that. Values into action. Yeah, out of Pennsylvania. So they were great to talk to. All right, everybody, it's 7:06. We'd love to give you 25 minutes of your time back. Thank you, Lucy, for that comment. Thank you, everyone. Um, we will keep you posted, and please join us. Again, we haven't decided on the frequency of these type of check-ins. It'll be probably when we have news to report, right? So thank you so much for joining. Please tell your friends to join us tomorrow at noon, or they can, of course, watch the replay. Thank you again to Champions Community Foundation for sponsoring the project. And thank you so much, everyone. And you all have a great evening. Take good care. Bye-bye.